Let's be honest, when it comes to Australian visas, the 190 state-nominated visa doesn't always get the same hype as the famous 189. The 189 is like that Instagram influencer who's constantly in the spotlight, sipping lattes in Bondi, while the 190 is the reliable best friend who actually shows up when you need help moving house, brings snacks, and maybe even paints the walls for you. But here's the plot twist. Right now, that dependable best friend is having a serious glow-up. The 190 has always been there quietly doing its job, giving skilled workers a pathway to permanent residency, but with the added security of state nomination. It's not just about getting a visa. It's about being invited, backed, and given a real shot at making Australia home. And while the 189 pathway has become a crowded concert with everyone trying to get through one tiny door, the 190 is starting to look like the VIP entrance, where the bouncer actually waves you in. So, if you've been eyeing permanent residency in Australia, but want a route that doesn't leave you stuck in the endless waiting room of maybe, you'll want to pay attention. This update isn't just a small tweak. It might be the thing that makes you go, yep, this is the one for me, and finally start packing those bags. First, a quick refresher on what the 190 actually is. The 190 visa is a skilled nominated visa. That means it's a permanent residency visa right from the start. You need to be nominated by an Australian state or territory. You score extra points in the points test just for being nominated, and in return, you agree to live and work in that state or territory for a few years. So it's not just about what skills you have, but also where you're willing to use them. If you think you can get PR, and then immediately hop over to Sydney's Bondi Beach when your nomination was from Tasmania, think again. States expect you to commit, at least for a while. What's new in the 2025 update? The last year has been a bit of a roller coaster for Australian immigration. The government's been tightening some areas, loosening others, and generally trying to manage migration in a way that fills skill shortages but keeps the job market balanced. For the 190 visa, there are 3 key updates worth your attention. 1. State occupation lists are more dynamic. States used to update their lists once or twice a year. Now, some states are updating them more frequently, reacting to local industry needs. This means a job that wasn't on the list in January could pop up in April. It's a bit like the stock market, but for jobs. 2. More occupations in regional states. Places like South Australia, Tasmania, and Western Australia have expanded their lists to include more trades, healthcare roles, and tech jobs. Why? Because they're trying to lure skilled workers away from the overcrowded capitals. If you're willing to live somewhere with fewer traffic jams and more wildlife, your chances just went up. 3. Priority processing for certain nominees. Some states are now giving priority to applicants in critical industries like healthcare, education, and construction. In other words, if you can fix a broken bone, teach maths, or build a bridge, you might get your visa faster than someone who codes apps for fun. Why the 190 might be your golden ticket. If your 189 application has been sitting untouched, with your expression of interest gathering dust, the 190 visa can feel like someone slipping you in through a side door to the party. State nomination adds valuable points that can push you over the cutoff. And because it's tied to a specific location, you're not competing with the entire pool of applicants all chasing Sydney or Melbourne. Instead, you're compared with a smaller group of people who are also willing to live where they've committed, which can mean noticeably better odds of success. That said, it's far from a guaranteed win. States have their own requirements, priorities, and timelines, so you still need to meet their criteria and play by their rules. Some people make the mistake of thinking that as soon as they get nominated, they're in. Not so fast. The nomination process can be just as competitive as the visa application itself. States want workers who are serious about living and working locally. If you put down yes to moving to Darwin, but your social media is full of Sydney Life hashtags, that might raise eyebrows. They'll look at your occupation and how in demand it is locally, your work experience and qualifications, your ties to the state, and your commitment. How the point system works now. The 190 gives you 5 extra points just for getting nominated. That might not sound like much, but in a points game where every single point counts, it can mean the difference between an invitation and a rejection. With recent changes, states are also more flexible with minimum points if you're in a critical skill shortage area. That means someone with 65 points in a high-demand healthcare role could be prioritized over someone with 80 points in a less urgent occupation. States are acting like recruiters. In 2025, states are becoming more aggressive about attracting talent. Some are attending international job fairs, doing online information sessions, and actively inviting certain candidates to apply for nomination. This is a big shift from the old wait-and-see model, where you submitted an expression of interest and crossed your fingers. Now, if your skills are hot property, a state might actually come knocking on your digital door. Let's be real. Moving to a new country is one thing. Moving to a specific part of that country, possibly far from the big cities you've seen on TV, is another. But that's the deal with the 190. And for some people, it's actually the best part. Regional states can offer lower cost of living, less competition for jobs, a tight-knit community, shorter commutes, and more space. Of course, if you're someone who needs a massive nightlife scene and a dozen brunch spots within walking distance, regional life might feel quiet. But for families or people who want a calmer start to Australian life, it can be ideal. What you should do right now. If 190 visa sounds like it could be your ticket in, here's a no-nonsense plan. Check the current occupation lists for each state. They're all different, and you might be in demand in one place but not in another. Update your EOI in Skill Select. Make sure your points are correct and your documents are in order. Gather evidence for ties to the state if you have any. Even short-term work or study can help. Be realistic about where you're willing to live. If you can't see yourself spending a couple of years in a smaller city, don't apply for a state that's entirely regional. Think of the 190 visa like a relationship. The state is saying, "We're choosing you, but we need commitment." You're saying, "I'll live here, work here, and contribute for a few years." In return, you get permanent residency and all the benefits that come with it. Healthcare, the right to stay indefinitely, and a pathway to citizenship. And just like in any good relationship, if you keep your promise, everyone wins. The Australia 190 visa update for 2025 is all about flexibility, faster responses, and a bigger focus on filling real skill gaps. If you're open-minded about location and ready to commit to a state that needs your skills, this could be your fastest, most reliable way into Australian permanent residency right now. Forget the idea that only the 189 is the real skilled visa. In the current climate, the 190 is not just a backup plan. It's a smart, strategic move. And who knows? You might just fall in love with the place you're nominated to live in.